Okay, we're recording. Okay, today's lesson of JKD would be the rear leg kicking, rear leg thrust kicking, and hook kicking. So I'm going to start in the closed stance. So the idea here behind the kick is to lift the knee up as straight as possible in regards to the center of my body. Okay, so I don't want to lift it up and come square like this. All right. Basically, what I want to do is let it follow the straight power line that goes from my toe to the center of my rear foot. So the first thing is just to try to get that knee to lift up this way. In fact, like all of these kicks, actually, you can begin to use your chambered, just work on the chambered position first. I'm going to go ahead and do the hook kick first, all right, the vertical hook kick. So basically, the hook kick can be done with the toe or the instep, which is the top of your foot, or your lower shin, okay, or a knee strike, right? So it's principle based and geometry and mechanic based, all right? So basically, I flip the kick up and set it back down again. So this one is at about the height of the groin. Now in regards to penetration, you control the depth and penetration of the kick, the vertical upward hook kick, by how far your knee raises up, okay? So if you're talking about kicking the groin, you would want the knee to come up a little bit higher than the groin so you can actually penetrate with the kick. All right, okay? The next hook kick will be the upward diagonal hook kick, all right? Now, the premise, though, of this kick is that it's not thrown, unlike the one that we just did now, which is thrown with the opponent directly in front of us. This simulation is that actually the opponent moves towards us in this direction here, all right? So when they begin to move around us, okay, that now becomes my new center. Okay, so here's my center, all right? If they move in this direction, that becomes my new center, all right? So two things can happen there. I can follow them with my lead, but the lesson is not on lead kicking, so I won't do that. But because the lesson is on rear kicking, I'll use my rear because now they've kind of alerted this electronic eye that is fixed on the left side of my body, all right? Actually, you would have about 3 eyes. Center, boom, boom, here, 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 like this. Okay, all right, so this hook kick, I'll throw up into the body, but the idea behind this is that they're moving in front of me. I'm not moving backward, forward, or sideways. I'm simply kicking them in the direction that they become in front of me, all right? And we'll practice the chambered position again here. Just lift it up here, diagonal. Okay, so now I'll do the kick. And the idea is to re-chamber into the lifted position before setting it down. diagonal hook kick. All right. The third one will be horizontal, which means that the hips will rotate over all the way into a square position. Okay. And I'm also going to keep this a low line kick. All right. All of these kicks can go low, middle, or high. And then within those three spheres of low, middle, and high, you have overlap. All right. So you should become familiar with a number of different targets. All right. So again, the premise here is that the opponent is not directly in front of us, because it pretty much is a JKD no-no most of the time to use my rear leg kick, hook kick that is, from a closed position and kick directly in front of us. It's just considered a gross motion. It's not considered simple and direct. Okay? All right. So you can see why, in this sense, that a typical Muay Thai, more square stance with that rear leg kick, swing kick coming through, does not match Jeet Kune Do very well. It is in contrast with it. All right? It is in contrast with it. And when I get to the hybrid stand-up, the HSF part of it, I'll show you a little bit of ways how they can fit together. But essentially, in my opinion, it's no longer Jeet Kune Do, it's a hybrid, all right? My opinion. Okay, so anyway, the idea here is that I rotate diagonal, I lift diagonal, but then once I rotate over to a horizontal position and throw the kick. So most systems call this a round kick or a roundhouse kick, all right? And we still want to emphasize water and whip, all right? So the idea, again, using Muay Thai as an example, we don't kick through like this, all right? We want to whip it back to the on-guard position. I'm changing levels here and there from around the hip into the groin and into the leg. You can also go up to the head, all right? Okay, so that is your lateral or horizontal hook kick. So we had vertical, and we had diagonal, and we had horizontal, all right? Okay. Now, let me now go ahead. I'll stay with the hook kick here today. So I guess we're going to have two parts, all right? And we'll just do all hook kicks in this particular one, all right? And then part two will go into the thrusting kick. So we'll see how many parts we actually need. Make sure it's still recording. Can't afford not to record. Outcast. All right, so again, from the idea of the closed position, I gave you the example that really that the only hook kick that is directly applicable in regards to, most of the time, in regards to the opponent being in front of us is the vertical, all right? And that the diagonal and the horizontal were better suited to when the opponent moves in front of that direction and that turns on that electronic eye for us to fire the rear tool on. All right? Okay, so the next premise is that we want to use our hook kick in order to flank in the direction away from our opponent in order to steal the corner, which is, of course, my favorite topic, as you have come to find out. All right? Now, because we're isolating kicking, there is a half step involved prior to the kick. All right? But in reality, there's a hand movement that, or a punch attack that hides that kick, and or a defensive movement to avoid a strike in order to get that position and kick. But the basic idea here now is that I push off of my rear foot and I open my foot off to the side, and I'm just going to do the diagonal hook kick 10 times. So I go here and I fire it this way. Now, when I dropped it in front there, that would be one option. But normally it's not the first option that we want, all right? Normally we want to control the kick so that when we step off and fire that we put it back over here, all right? Now, I haven't closed the door yet, all right? But what I have done is that I've returned it to my changed structure in a balanced way so that I may close the door. So I'm going to do 10 like that, and then I'm going to do 10 with dropping my left foot forward, which basically means that we've done a tactical switch and we're going to fire off this other corner this way, all right? But I don't want to get too far ahead because we have a ton of material to cover. Because here we go, 1. Okay, that was a fuck up as well. Because essentially I don't want to coming back with my foot this way either. That's also a gross movement and unrealistic. So, look, for various reasons you'll make mistakes. And I have no excuses, but I have plenty of reasons. But it's good for me to make mistakes here too, because I'd like for you to spot them. And usually I can spot them as I'm doing them. And I'm not embarrassed to tell you when I fuck up or not, all right? Because it's a great learning tool for all of us, okay? And it's a reinforcement of knowledge. See what I'm saying? Okay, so I go here and set it down. Okay, now I'm going to go back in. 2, 3, 4, 5. That time I jumped with it. So the timing is a little bit more dynamic. 8, 7, 8. Kicking with the toe. Primarily with shoes on, kicking with the toe. I can kick with the instep as well. Or with the lower shin. Let's do one more. All right. So I should have been coming back down to here each time. All right. So I'll constantly complain to my students about that. So do as I say, not as I do. But that's kind of hard by video, isn't it? And of course, when you make mistakes, you have to recover from them. So the real life thing is just, the two important things is that on this particular isolated kick, is that I come back to this balanced posture and not back here like this, all right? But now that we're into round 2, we'll go ahead and do the tactical switch. So I step off and kick, and I plank forward with my left foot forward. And I'm facing my opponent from the angle / stealing the corner. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I did make a mistake again. 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so that one was meant to plant the left foot forward, all right? So, again, what we didn't want to do, but what you saw me do wrong a few times, okay? What I wanted to do was come back to the rear facing, okay? I'm sorry, to the outward facing, because this movement gave me outward facing. Thus, the easiest way to come back is to it, all right? The second variation was to, if I create outward facing, that simply by letting it collapse down on the left side, I've done a tactical switch, and now I have back to frontal facing again, or closed facing, all right? Okay. So that can also be done with a horizontal, all right? So again, toe, instep, lower shin, all right, with various targets. So we go here, 1, 2, so it involves more rotation, 3, 4, okay, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, all right. So, and then we'll go ahead and drop it down. 1. So that's your tactical switch. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so that was your horizontal hook kick. Okay? All right. Okay, so the other thing, since I decided to just make this hook kick only, we can also, as a rear leg, since the lesson is on rear leg kicking, get into the spinning reverse hook kick. Now, in reality, the kick can come up this way if I'm completely turned away, like into the groin. Okay, it can also come up upward at an angle. It could come horizontal, or it can come downward diagonal, depending on your flexibility and the availability, the target that you're after. Okay? But I'll just go ahead and work the spinning reverse hook kick, and I'll try to show horizontal and downward. Okay? Now, I talked about a couple different ways to do it. One way is to turn on the balls of the feet and look completely behind you as a first part of the movement, even though you would never stop in that position. There's also the idea is that your foot may have been up for whatever reason, probably a lead leg kick or a fake, and that you set that down as you turn. Okay, and then the other one is to steal the corner to where I come in this way and I step offward at this angle to fire the kick. All right? So let's see if we can go ahead and do the stationary one first, just with the stance turning. Kind of came down at an angle that time, and again came down at an angle. Horizontal, and horizontal again. Okay? All right, so you can see recovery is less because of the commitment to the spin. So it has to be well timed and set up in a way to where it may be a finishing blow as opposed to an opener. Okay, so on this one, I'll go ahead and burst in and set down and kick. 2, 3, woo! 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Water time. Okay, so this time I'll go ahead and lift with the burst, but I'll set down to the corner and attack from the angle. 2, 3, 4, 5. That was sloppy. Getting tired. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, baby. Oh. Okay, so I'm doing 10 reps of each, and you should do 20 minimum, and for real results you should do 100 each. And again, we're just isolating kicks, hook kicks today. There's always punching and other striking involved before and after, all right? Unless you do knock them out with a kick, okay? But again, this path of isolation and integration as a teaching progression and as a way to cultivate specific aspects and then put them together. Okay, boys, cheerio. And tomorrow, I'll either be following up with part 2 of this, which will be thrust kicking, and see how many parts we need for this. But I also may break it up tomorrow by doing Kaliatik mano mano. Okay, so we shall see. Cheers.